I think we're already started. I'm gonna go ahead, Peter's gonna start it. I'm gonna welcome everybody. This is the Mason County Elected Official Director Meeting where we get together to talk about the things that are going on for April 9th, 2024. And with that, I wanna thank everybody for coming in today. I don't know if anybody's seen the agenda, because I seem to be the only one holding one. Okay. So with it, today we're hoping just to have some good collaboration, talking to each other, maybe have some ideas, and you'll be given, each of you given an opportunity to speak and give us an update of what you're doing, but perhaps also maybe some ideas what you'd like to see. So with that being said, I'm gonna go ahead and call the meeting to order, and we're gonna start with our County Administrator, Mark Neri.
Good morning, everybody. So I'm trying to make it quick. So myself and the directors, we get a lot of time in front of the commissioners, and the separately electeds don't always get that. So we're going to try and limit our time to provide more time for you. So just a brief overview of some big things going on in 2024 is that we are working on getting Building 10, which is our district court building, completely finished so that we can move staff out of our courthouse into the district court building. And so I'm hopeful that within the next couple of months we can actually go out to bid on that project and get started with construction. As you all know or may know, we opened North Mason facilities. We have our sheriff's office, North Precinct, moved into that building, and we have space for other county offices that would like to have space up there. Our county auditor has utilized that space, and he may talk about that, so I don't want to steal any of his thunder. But if there's other offices that would like to operate out of that facility, please just work with Kelly and I, and we can make sure that we create that space for you. Have been working every Monday night on the Mason County Citizens Commissions on salary for elected officials. So this commission was enacted by the commissioners through a resolution to set the salaries for the assessor, auditor, clerk, coroner, sheriff, and treasurer. That commission is working diligently to try and get to a decision before May 1st. So they do have a deadline. They're really focused on meeting that deadline. And as all of you might have seen this morning, the commission has some questions for the separately electeds, and so they wanted us to send those out. There is a very short turnaround time on that, in that they're asking for answers by Thursday, I believe, so that we can actually get it on their agenda and have that information to them. They did discuss, and this is just, I'm there to answer questions if they have for me, but I do not interact or provide guidance to them. So we did provide them with materials on the elected positions and what their statutory obligations are. Though they would like further information from elected officials, so that's where you're getting those questions from. I'm hopeful that they've actually started getting into the details of talking about how they're going to go about setting salaries. So I think that they're working hard to get there. And we have a fine.
10 push-ups.
Yeah.
No, it's just hand it over.
Yeah.
Yes, Your Honor.
Cool. Yes. So we're working through that. So if you have questions that you think I might be able to answer, I'd be happy to talk with you about my personal opinion about how this is going and the discussions that they're having. But please provide them with any information that you feel is necessary for them to make a good decision about this, because once they make this decision, then it goes into place, and the commissioners really aren't involved in it. They just adopt whatever's given to them. With that, I will leave it up to Jen. Is Jen here?
Except for Jen's not here. So on that thing, if you can express your job in 150 to 200 words, knock yourself out. I'm curious to see how that comes out. Do you want to go get her? Because I think that's probably the most important thing on the whole agenda. So first of all, does anybody have any questions on the presentation that Mark just gave you? Anything about Building 10, North Mason Services, or maybe the Salary Commission? No? Okay, you're making it hard for me to buy a little time.
Jen's out sick today.
Oh, Jen is out sick today. All right, so,
Mark, it's all on
2020
you.
Yeah, that's all right, 2024 budget. You know, we start this in June, so Jen and her staff are working on putting together what they know for expenses, which is our baseline expenses moving into 2025. So if the salary commission is able to actually get it done, hopefully they can set 2024 as well as 2025 at the same time. Then when we go to budgeting, we can input that information into the budget and be ready to move forward without having to make any adjustments to that. So Jen and her staff will be putting together those baseline budgets. The auditor has a role in calling for the preliminary budgets. I can't remember the timeline, I think it's September-ish.
That's when we submit it to the Board of Commissioners.
Yep, so be looking for those emails. And I think that this is a great opportunity for you to kind of put before the commissioners, what do you see coming in 2024 as well as 2025, to kind of get it on their radar so that they're not surprised when the budget process starts. So be ready for that, and if you have questions or concerns about policy level requests that you're going to want to see in 2025, I would appreciate it if you reached out to Jen early so that she can help get some of that information input into the system.
One of the great parts, we just had our first roll-up of what's happening so far this year, and some of the things that we were lacking last year, especially at the end, like sales tax, has jumped back up to normal on our first presentation. We don't know what tomorrow holds, but it's always good to have a start where is where it's supposed to be. That's a positive step, especially when you're looking at your budget. Any questions for Mark on that?
One more thing to add to
ahead.
that, Randy.
Yeah.
So we've been working through a process to revise our chart of accounts. We've been working with Steve's staff to make sure that we get it right. It's a big project. It's taken a lot longer than we expected to. We're really wanting to be able to enact some of the other modules within our financial system, Munis. The chart of accounts needs to be done before that. The treasurer's office has been really working hard to make sure that their systems will work with that. We've sent information out to all the departments and offices about the changes and provided a crosswalk to see what it would look like. So if you have ancillary systems that actually feed into Munis, please look at that now before later, so we can ensure that that is a seamless transition when we do move into the chart of accounts. The final chart or the final structure of how that works, I'm hopeful within the next couple of months that we can get that set. And then the process of actually converting takes a few months of testing and making sure that everything works. So if you haven't looked at that, dust it off and look at it, and please provide us some feedback on it.
Questions for Mark? Hearing none, we're gonna go ahead and move on to the next section, item number 4, which is elected officials director updates. Elected officials and directors will have 5 minutes each to provide updates. If there's something you need us to know, we'll just try to make some time to make it happen, but please remember, there's a lot of us, and a lot of people have to go back to court, do other things that are just not gonna happen if they don't show. So with that being said, number 1, the assessor, Patty.
Good morning, everybody. So a few assessor office updates. We have our new field device tablets. They're pretty handy. We've been trying to get these since 2019. COVID delayed them a little bit. They're not 100% functional yet, but what is working is making the inspections a little bit faster out in the field and date stamping when they're on the parcel. So still a work in progress, but they're moving forward and it's very exciting. And I know a lot of people know we had an unprecedented number of board of appeals last year. There was over 610 logged. However, there was several duplicates, a lot of withdrawals, some ARCs and stuff. So we're meeting Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. I'm sitting in all the board appeals so the staff can keep writing the assessor's responses. So yeah, so we've been busy with that. Also out in the field, so we site inspect once every 6 years. We're in Area 1, which goes all the way out to Matlock, Lake Limerick, Lynch Road area. This year we're seeing a lot of more increased agitated taxpayers when we're on their parcels. A couple of weeks ago we had a taxpayer almost get run over by appraiser almost run over by the taxpayer. So that's being investigated. This poor appraiser, he's one of the newer ones, and so he's kind of getting the brunt of a lot of agitated taxpayers. So I don't know what's going on. I don't know if we also need to maybe put the assessor logo back on the cars, because we're getting several cars of why that car's in the driveway. So they're just, you know, people are taking their time and they're seeing a little more agitated this year. We also have an influx on the senior exemption disability program. The income level went from 40,000 to 55,000, so we're having a lot more applicants be able to qualify, so an increase in that traffic. We are auditing 2/6 of the area for the seniors also. So the area we site inspect, along with the second area, we send out audits just to check on them and update their income. So also the designated forest land current use program, we audit them also during our site inspection areas. We also have the appraisers kind of laying eyes on the parcel to make sure they are being compliant. We'll send out letters for updated management plans and farm and ag income. We also want to meet with the commission in the near future. I've been trying to get with that. They're kind of about the open space program. It is the commission's program. Just kind of the roles and responsibilities, maybe hand back a little bit to your guys' department. We are a lot less staff than we were back in, you know, when I first started in the office. So maybe in the near future we can meet with you guys on that. With that said, we did have 21 applications this year for designated forest land, 9 for open space and 4 for just farm and ag program. The open space program, Kel's gone with me in the past. We go out and site inspect them just to make sure they say, you know, it is a wetland or it is whatever to qualify them. So we do try to site inspect those when they do when they apply. So they apply the 1 year last year, we review it the next year for the 3rd year for the relief. So we do try to lay eyes on it. In the past, the prior administrations had kind of just put them in the program, so they're kind of surprised when they get an audit letter from us asking them, you know, to be compliant. And I think that's it, unless I forgot anything. I got Sierra here.
Anything you want to add, Sierra?
Thank you, nailed it.
We did get invited yesterday to the fire chief's meeting up at Public Works yesterday, just to kind of talk about timelines and levies and, you know, their budgets and stuff like that. It was a very informative meeting. Very nice to meet with all of them, and we're going out to Fire District 12's meeting today at 2 o'clock. So, yeah, they advised us to go, so.
Take backup.
If you wouldn't mind, could you send the commission a brief, not even brief, a full breakdown on what it takes for the exemption, so that we can share that with others.
The senior exemption, yeah, and it's all online too.
All right, any questions for the assessor? Hearing none, we're gonna go ahead and move over to Mr. Auditor, Steve Dunkel.
Hey, good morning, everybody. 2024 is shaping up to be a really busy year for the auditor's office as we work hard to serve the people of Mason County. And I'll start with the financial services department team and pick up on a couple topics that Mark teed up. And that begins with the chart of accounts revision and conversion activity that's led by Leo Kim, our Chief Finance Officer. Morning, Leo. I see you're logged on. And then our AP experts and analysts want to continue work to expand our Go Paperless effort with back scanning of invoices from Public Works and utilities and waste management and juries. And that's our way of saving time and money and resources for the county. And also, Leo and I want to continue work together to look for opportunities to enhance opportunities for internal control, doing some work that auditors are supposed to do in terms of keeping tabs on how things are going within the county. Moving over to recording and licensing, we're picking up the passport service from the clerk's office. And so we are working to integrate that statement of work with the licensing and recording activity. And we'll be working on an updated set of position descriptions that we'll be working with Mary on and we'll bring to you guys at some point here in the near future. But we're pretty excited about that. We made the commitment up front that we would bring that service to our citizens without any additional staffing resources, and we're going to be able to do that. And so with that, it's been a challenge and an opportunity to really look at how we integrate all the services that are being made available in recording and licensing. And then lastly, for recording and licensing, we've got our Fraud Notify service up and live. How many people here signed up for Fraud Notify? Nobody.
I meant to, I'm going to.
All right, busy you guys. And with that, there's other features on the website for document searching and being able to retrieve and print certified copies of recorded documents, so that's pretty cool. And then we're kind of continues in the background to look for other things that we can do, other innovations to help protect property owners against land fraud, title fraud, and deed fraud. Over on the election side, we had our first election up at the temporary voting center up in Belfair. And Kevin asked the other day how many customers came by in the 2 days that we were open. It was about 30. And everybody really appreciated the convenience of not having to drive all the way down to Shelton. So we'll be opening that facility back up for the August primary and the November general election. And then elections beyond that that involve jurisdictions in the northern end of the county. So we think it's a good thing. Always looking for ways to better protect our voting system, machines, and election system, especially from wireless intrusion threats. We have some devices in now where we can actually pick up and detect wireless signals in the area of the ballot processing room and try to discern whether there's anything to pay more attention to or not. Along the lines of transparency, we've got 2 more drop boxes to get under video surveillance. We'll be working on that this year. That would be the ballot drop box up at YMCA and the one out at Fire District 4 in Camilchi. We want to migrate the elections webpage back to the county website in anticipation of and preparation for redoing the whole county website. And we're really paying close attention to accessibility features for voters with disabilities. That's an important thing, I think, for our community. And in and around all that, I gotta tell you guys, I'm spending about 1/3 of my own time on voter registration database maintenance. This is in addition to the work that's done by the team with ERIC data and Postal Service change of address data from the Secretary of State's office. It's a lot of work and it never changes, and it's I think one of the top priorities to get us all ready for 2024. Make sure our voter rolls are as clean and crisp as possible. And then coming up, last but certainly not least, starting in July, automatic voter registration laws are coming into effect. And that's going to be, we think it's going to be a pretty significant statement of work for the team. And I've talked to some of you commissioners about wanting to bring on additional staff to get up to speed and get that work really well understood, get it well quantified in terms of resources and all of that, so we can make good decisions about staffing going forward, but more to come on that. And then last but certainly not least, we all know 2024 is going to be an exciting year, so we're dusting off our continuity of operations plans, working that with the Secretary of State's office and Homeland Security and our sheriff. And so we just want to be as prepared as possible going into the next general election. What questions do you have? Comments?
Questions for the auditor?
Steve, so I know your new recording platform, we're having some issues getting documents to come up on it.
Yeah, we had some trouble.
took something over this morning and we've had to send some customers over and stuff.
So you're still having trouble with it?
We're still having issues with documents coming up.
We
so.
went through a pretty intensive round of troubleshooting with our IT team. Those guys are great. And with the Tyler folks to try to get that all worked out, but looks like we have more work to do.
You still have a few glitches.
Yeah.
Other
But your
questions?
staff has been wonderful about, getting the copies we need and so forth.
Okay.
We appreciate them being online because that helps us tremendously. It's amazing how often we have to get to those documents.
Yeah.
But yeah, we are still finding a few glitches here.
So
and there.
Ben's up there working with the team today and to make sure we touch base and if it's the same issue or different issues or whatever, so we can
Yeah.
respond accordingly.
Okay, thank you. Anything else for the auditor? Mr. Auditor, I want to remind you, there actually it was and should be a standing committee for ADA voter
There is.
access. I'm a member of that, and
Yes, you
so
are.
please, let's see if we can start that back up, especially before this.
Yeah, we had our last meeting in December 17th last year, but we'll be gearing up. I did have just a quick huddle with TJ and some of the members from that team just to try to think through what accessibility features we might want to see in the new website. So we have started that conversation, and we'll be expanding on that.
And having the public people that were connected with that in there helped in the past, they've had some good ideas.
Yep.
All right, next up would be our clerk, Charles Burks.
Thank you. First of all, we're up to a full staff at this point, where I'm down one chief for a short period of time. She'll be back, and right now, the acting chief is Bonnie Pope. We are in the process of cross-training all of our people to be able to civil handling criminal handling ITAs, et cetera, et cetera. So every member of my staff are able to do all of our case types 1 through 8. And before I forget, I want to thank our treasurer for being so helpful as I'm learning new jobs and remittance. I'm not saying I'm perfect, but at least we got it done.
Us are.
So we're doing well there. We are in the process now. May 1st, we should be totally on board to bill out all of the Odyssey portal invoices. So we'll be able to get start getting money. We haven't collected money in 6 years with our Odyssey portal. People would pay initially, and then they would never receive an invoice, so they haven't paid for 6 years. So we're changing that. As of May 1, we should be totally on board. We're just going through the areas of bad emails, etc. And that should change. So we May 1. All the invoices should be out, and if the invoices are, if the emails are coming back bad, I've instructed my staff to just go ahead and delete it. Hopefully they'll call, we'll get it fixed, because we don't have the time to chase them all down. So that being said, right now my acting chief, just to let you all know, is Bonnie Pope. She will be my acting chief for a period of time. I need that assistance. I'm in the process now of arranging with AOC to come on in and to provide training to me, to my staff, especially the financial aspects. It's a lot different when you know a debit from a credit, and I was talking to Lisa about that today. Everything that we learn from a financial standpoint, forget it. It doesn't apply here. So we're trying to figure that out. ALC's been very good to me, and so is the rest of the members of other departments have been very helpful to me as well. So that being said, our ITA billings, we're up to date on those. That will go out, and I know that Kevin Schutte will be excited about that. That'll go out on after the first quarter, and we're all good. I just signed the last of the the invoices to get things done properly, and make sure that the paper, our toner, et cetera, is being applied. We received a check back from them, and it was nice having a few little bucks, that 50,000 or whatever it was, coming in, and it's really difficult right now for me not having my chief. You don't realize how bad you need your chief unless they're not there. We miss Terry, and she will be back. And right now Bonnie is doing a good job, but she's limited in what she can do at this point. But she's handling the replications of the issues, because we have replications that, as I was going through everything, that hasn't been done since 2022. So those are errors through AOC, and we're correcting that. So we have 280. We're just whittling those down and taking care of them, and AOC is happy with the progress that we're making at this point.
Thank you, Charles. Does anybody have any?
Sorry, I wanna make sure I get everything in there, yeah.
Does anybody have questions for the clerk?
Just a clarification.
Yes.
So on the billing for the involuntary treatment court stuff, you provide the number of cases that you've done to Jen, and Jen will do the billing on a quarterly basis.
Right, yeah, and.
That's for each of the offices that have a part in that, so
Right,
it's super
right,
important.
right.
That's wonderful to hear that you're fully staffed. Next up, we have our coroner, Madam Coroner.
I always felt very bad talking about my department. So we have been super busy, and I know that's hard. We've already surpassed our numbers this year from this time last year. We had a very tragic weekend, but we also had 5 investigative deaths in less than 24 hours this weekend. I am very, very thankful for our new storage. We've utilized those new racks that we got. So we've been super, super busy with calls. Let me try to find some positive. Our Randox machine has been fantastic. I've been signing out death certificates. We've been getting our results from WSP, and our Randox is matching their results. So that is really exciting. We don't have any backlog of death certificates. They're all signed out. We are making a little bit of revenue. We are starting to do toxicology for Grays Harbor, and they are paying us. I have 3 to do when I get back to the office. And so, yeah, we're just cruising. We have very small staff. They're overworked, but they do great. And yeah, we're working 24/7.
You're awesome. Any questions for the coroner? Thank you, Madam Coroner. Oh,
I
yes.
just want to point out one thing. I think we're the only county doing this, but our coroner sends me a list of her customers from month to month, every month, and I'm immediately able to cross-check that against the voter registration database.
Wow.
And I talked about that at the last Waco meeting with some of their coroners in the county, and they were all perked up and excited, but thank you for working with me
Yeah, you're welcome.
to do that. Appreciate that.
So we shouldn't be registering them?
Yeah. Or send them 2 ballots, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Now, people realize how incredible our coroner staff is and has been for years as a commissioner. They ask the least and they do so much with what they have. It's just kind of
I have a
amazing. Yeah.
So maybe if I can get a copy of the report too, because we search through the obituaries, and sometimes when the seniors pass away, because they're removed at the date of death, and sometimes it'll be a few years go by and they don't respond to their audit, so they've been gone for a few years and we
Yeah, I
have to
can
move them.
CC you when I send.
Thank you.
You can't have a copy, Charles.
Charles, only they can have a copy. You can't, sorry.
Can I get a copy also? 'Cause we're still getting, because we're still getting, you know, people that are deceased, in our jury rolls.
Of course. Yeah.
All right, anything else for the coroner? Thank you. Next up is District Court, Judge Steele.
Well, basically we'll keep this under 5 minutes. We're basically just plugging away, hearing cases and all that, but there are a lot of challenges that the court and also the other participants in the criminal justice community are facing. And the court's not exactly a member of the criminal justice community, but that's where the cases are adjudicated. Some of us has already made the press as far as the changing standards for public offenders, which is going to, in my mind, wreck the system. I hope I'm wrong, but I still rack my brain to see any way that's going to resolve itself easily. And we are having, the courts, as you all know, been having to deal with issues concerning the inability of the Public Defender's Office to send us public offenders. And again, Mr. Jones, that's no criticism of you, unless you have a way to conjure people up out of nothing and send them over, but I don't think you do.
No, I'm pricing on survival bunkers.
But bottom line is, everybody's been doing what they can, and I think we've been able to mitigate the damage pretty well thus far. And we worked out, change our calendars around, so one of the regular public defenders could have a calendar. Matter of fact, the calendars today, which normally wouldn't be because this is our trial week. So we have a pro tem covering it. So that's helped in, dealt with conscription, but the problem is with this, when it comes to conscription, the well's dry. I made some real rules I tried to follow, which is no law firm would be saddled with more than one set of conscripted cases. There's also people have to be insured. There may be some issues on that, at least with one lawyer that have already withdrawn. So I see that they're got a lot of challenges in front of us as far as trying to deal with that, and understand that the ability to assign public defenders is as critical as the ability to have prosecutors represent the state, have law enforcement out to investigate and refer cases over, that type of thing, because we cannot afford their person's ability to be represented, their constitutional right. The case is not going to move forward. I'm not going to say, well, too bad for you, here's a book on how to represent yourself. That's not going to happen. So it's a critical component, if you want to call this criminal justice system, as anything else. And we, in my mind, it's affecting the court. It's been under stress now for going on a year and a quarter, in my opinion. And I think we're also in the same issue concerning having prosecutors available. Again, I made it real clear that I was going to cut both Mr. Jones and Mr. Dorsey a break. I was not going to apply for any of their open positions. Wouldn't do that to them. But the situation is, it impacts the court, and it's all part of the different aspects of the same problem. And I'd like to tell you I have great solutions. I don't. We'll see how that goes. On a positive note, we're looking forward to the progress being made on Building 10. Also, this may be a whole lot of wasted electrons. I forwarded the county commissioners and other in the Superior Court an email of a grant opportunity apparently for grants to pay for like restoring or rehabbing historic buildings. So assuming our courthouse is a historic building, maybe that's going to be an issue, but I didn't look at it. It's not going to impact me, so I just forwarded it on. We are fully staffed at this point. Had one person out on maternity leave. She's back, and that's kind of where we are at this point.
Thank you, Aaron. Anybody have any questions for His Honor? Hearing none, thank you. We're going to go ahead and move on to our next victim, Prosecutor Mike Dorsey.
After D? D to B, there's no.
Hey, I want you to notice though, he finished in less than his 5 minutes.
This isn't gonna happen.
It'll
It'll happen real easy. I've been thinking about this a lot. We have way too much to do. We don't have nearly enough people to do it. Part of that's gonna mean probably coming, we've gone as long as I don't know if we've gone as long as we can, but we've gone long enough with asking people to do even more. I'm gonna lose people. So I would expect to see further contraction in what, as we kind of try to prioritize and triage what we can do. You know, I mean, I understand why we're doing it, but like it was just mentioned, we had a special docket today that we normally wouldn't have for a defense attorney schedule, and slams us pretty hard when those types of things. So we're evaluating things we have to let go of and just aren't going to be able to do. And I've never ever wanted to do that in any kind of categorical basis, and then that's not really how we're looking at it. But we're still down 3 attorneys, not a lot of optimism in sight, and unless things start changing, we can't keep up with the normal workload with being down. I don't know how you want to look at it. 70% of the attorneys, if you take out myself and Tim as not primarily handling criminal caseloads and Tim Higgs as primarily focusing on appeals, that would leave 7 attorneys to do the entire criminal caseload for the county, in which we have 4 right now. So, I mean, you can make statistics mean anything, but we have too much to do and we don't have enough people to do it, and we're struggling to keep the ship upright. Bottom line.
Questions for prosecuting attorney? First of all, it doesn't matter who has ownership of it, sucks.
Yeah, it's just.
But we are, as a commission, we are aware, we are looking, we have that committee, but I'm expecting some big changes have to happen because there's no choice. Mm-hmm. And so we'll deal with things when there's no choice.
And for what it's worth, I'll just add, the commission's been very responsive to the issues and trying to solve them, so I mean, we certainly appreciate that. They're still enduring.
All right, anything, yes?
I'd just say appreciation for your department and Tim's assistance to Public Works. You provide absolute awesome service, and if there are things we can do to do additional legwork or things to help lighten the load, definitely let us know.
Yeah, I appreciate that, and I know Tim does. I understand what Mr. Rhodes says that you don't appreciate till it's, I mean, that's life, but trust me, I always appreciate my chief deputy and don't know how to do this job without him, so. Not that this is our private moment. I don't need him to leave to know to miss it.
One way to end, another 5 minutes, thank you.
Thank you, Tim.
Tim, do you want to talk to Mary in HR?
So next
Employee
up,
assistance program.
next up is our sheriff, Ryan.
If you've been watching the news, you know how busy we've been. Just last week, we had that gang-involved shooting out at the casino, which happens to be ours. It was a very large shooting scene with bullet holes in the front, the side, the back of the vehicle, and the roofs and the buildings. It was very involved. Ended up, we've got 5 people in custody, including the 2 people that were shot. One of my deputies that arrived first, she tied 2 tourniquets on the leg shots. And then she also was the very first person on the scene of the trooper crash on Saturday. I arrived a few minutes after she did, and she was already with this young trooper who graduated 2 weeks ago and is involved in a crash, and 2 people are dead in it while he was running lights and siren, and he was going into shock, so she stayed with him. I visited them in the hospital, and I asked her, I said, "So, Makala, how's your week been?" "Oh, it's been a week." So it was a big deal that the Washington State Patrol would ask the Mason County Sheriff's Office to take the primary lead on a high liability collision like that. And it has a lot to do with the capacity that we have through the drones and the Faro scanners and the equipment that we have to be able to investigate a scene that covers 300 feet, 400 feet worth of evidence sprayed all over the place that's really going to be scrutinized for years in court possibly. So big things that we're doing there. And just to remind you guys, I took a look at it the other day and I was a little surprised at it. Of the 53 fully commissioned people, including myself and the undersheriff, 27 have less than 5 years on. And a lot of them are having to be retrained as laws change. On June 6th, we'll be able to pursue again. I went up to testify before the legislature on that one. Didn't end up getting an opportunity, but that's going to change how we do business. We were ahead of that, and we have a partnership with the Washington State Patrol Academy. We teach all their domestic violence classes. We teach all of their pursuit dog classes up there, and we have an exchange of service, and they allow us to use their drive course because it's like $1,500 a day, plus all of their vehicles. So all of our deputies, before the law comes into place, will be trained in immobilization technique so that we can end pursuits before they become dangerous. And that's the goal, even with some of the different things. The big thing for us, it's always been a balancing act. Safety of the community, safety and the concerns of this individual getting away. Is it more of a danger to the community than the pursuit presents? And the legislature is not changing that. We've always had that in mind. Anybody who's been in law enforcement knows how dangerous those things are, and we have to weigh it because my family's out in the community driving around, and do I want somebody pursuing and hitting them head on? So we'll balance that out, but the message is going to be, bad guys, you don't know if we're going to pursue you or not. Because as of late, they've been able to even call and say, you have to tell those officers to stop. We had a pursuit not too long ago, and they called dispatch after 15 minutes of our pursuit and said, we have a baby in the car, tell them to stop. And our supervisor had to evaluate that. Well, what if they really do have a baby in the car? So we called the pursuit off. We ended up catching them a couple days later through investigation, but those are the type of things that we deal with. Right now we're doing an 80-hour leadership course. Again, we have had almost 250 leaders in the region in law enforcement that have gone through that, and we'll be opening that up. It's a West Point leadership class from behavioral sciences and leadership sciences at West Point. Mary's very familiar with it. It's a great course. I always learn when I teach because I've taught it 30 times, and every time I learn something new. It's that deep of material. It's really good. one concern I have that I wanted to pass along, and please, if somebody's watching the clock, tap me when I'm getting close. I just got back from the...
Captain, what you know, just go ahead, Sheriff. You're fine.
The Western States Sheriff's Association. And first time I've been to one, and I didn't know what to expect. There are 19 states represented at the Western States Sheriff's Association, 1,100 elected sheriffs that are represented there. So they had some pretty big-time speakers there, and we had the assistant to the United States Border Patrol give a brief, along with every regional Border Patrol chief give a brief on their region. I'm saddled with the responsibility of the safety of our community when it comes to a lot of things, and this is a big concern to me. I didn't pay too much attention to the border stuff. I have, but I haven't, because you hear rumors, and some people go too far one way, some go too far the other. But when you're hearing directly from the people who are on the border what's going on, and the change from Mexican nationals and migrant families coming over the borders to now it's not Mexican nationals and migrant families, it's young, military age men coming by themselves from countries that are often our enemies. And when they tell you that they don't even know how many terrorists have come into our country in the last 4 years, and then listening to the FBI talk about Director Wray brief a Senate committee that the red flags are more than they ever were in 9/11, and it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when terrorist attacks happen within our country. We saw what 5 people in Moscow could do. I'm concerned for our community. I even got briefs from the Blaine region of the border who said we have a significant problem coming from Canada, where they'll come on a visitor's visa into Canada and then come into our country through our areas. So this is something that is coming to a theater near you. We had gotten a Fusion Center briefing at the beginning of Ramadan. ISIS had called for attacks on churches and synagogues. We just had an individual, if you read some of the headlines, in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, who had pledged his allegiance to ISIS and was about to attack all the churches there and take out, and he was going to basically be a martyr. But they caught him before, so these things are happening. ISIS has called for that. It's a little bit of a concern. There's no more, oh, that's just happening on the borders. It's coming to us. And I'm telling community members, I have 4 community meetings a month. I now include Matlock with one of my community meetings. And I'm hearing from the citizens, they're frustrated. There's vigilantism on the rise because they feel that the state has left them high and dry and limited our ability through the criminal justice system to bring about justice. So it's just interesting. I got a finger on the pulse of the community and trying to deal with that. We're increasing our neighborhood watch and trying to empower them other ways. So if you have any questions, let me know, but that's just a quick one.
The sheriff had mentioned, look at what the damage 5 people could do, as he brought up, but if he showed me the graph that showed the difference on what's used to come in compared to what's coming in now, with the color coordination, and the change is not just in the amount, the change in how they're coming in, who's coming in, was a shocker to me, and I am paying attention all the time. But
estimates almost 10 million in the last 4 or 5 years.
But of those, the majority, I would say, are not.
According to their chart.
Yeah, are not the Mexican nationals. So there's been a real shift. So thank you for sharing that. Does anybody have a question for the sheriff? Okay, next up, I have 3 judges listed under Superior Court, but I see 1 sitting here, so Monty, you're taking it for the Superior
The others
Court.
who are actually working.
Yeah.
So, I'm not gonna rehash a lot. Obviously, Judge Goodell, Judge Stevens are both in court this morning. So this is my first year as presiding judge, so here I am. So, like Judge Steele has said, obviously courts continue to plug along. Our business is booming, so to speak, just like Jamie's, and so we just continue on. Obviously, like the sheriff was talking about, we continue to adapt to changes in the legislature. Modifications of protection orders a couple years ago, the whole new guardianship thing, which we are still working through, trying to nail down. The process is there, and legislature being what it is, as Commissioner Schutte knows, they can't avoid tweaking with something that's there, because that's what they're there for. So, we continue on with that. I was gone last week, and I came back to new carpet in my office like this. I think carpet that was in that building was there when I started in the county in 2003, so thank you for that. You know, we talk about business booming, you know, we have the same issues as district court with, and Mike and Peter with staffing and the changes in the public defense realm, so we are gonna be assisting with trying to work through that as best that we can. As well, we remain at full staff, we have a great team, working a lot with Charles and his folks. I just wanna take this moment, you know, like I said, I started in the county in 2003, was gone for a little while, but working in a position that still had me in contact with the county, and to me, right now, the level of cooperation that I see within the county is the best that I've ever seen, in basically 2 decades here. So I think that's really positive. You know, Jamie was asking about good things, so Jamie and I know Mike did, I don't know if there are others here that I are not aware of, we got a chance to speak to the Shelton Police Citizens Academy.
Yeah, I did as well.
And Sheriff did as well. You know, so it's good community outreach. You know, and I think that is something that we haven't always seen on a consistent basis, so, you know, that was a great opportunity. I know I've been up at North Mason, doing presentations at the school, through judges in the classroom, and, you know, it's just, I think this is a community that benefits from that contact. We haven't become so big that we can't have that, and it helps folks understand this process. As, you know, Charles knows, Mike, Peter, everybody else here, when people come in your door and they don't understand the process, it just ramps up the frustration. And, you know, I think we're in a far better place than we have been for years. There's a lot of challenges ahead of us. But I think we got a great team of folks here to do that. So I'm just gonna stop there on a positive note, so if you have questions, I'll be more than happy to reflect them to somebody else.
I agree with you. Any questions for Your Honor? I do want to point out, as for your comparison with the coroner, her recidivism rate is much lower than yours.
I know. But our therapeutic rate is much higher. So, well, thank you, but therapeutic. So we are finishing up a 5-year federal grant in our therapeutic courts. We have another grant backing that up now. So there's not gonna be any reduction in that service. You know, in 2004, we started with a drug court with 5 people. We now have 4 therapeutic type courts, which are, I think, a great benefit. And as we talk about what we need to do to address, you know, prosecutor and public defense issues, you know, there are options out there. They may not be the best, but we certainly have some experience that other folks don't have. So I think we're in a position to move forward very positively.
We always find a way. Madam Treasurer, Lisa Frazier.
All right, well, I'll start off that it is April, and your taxes are due on April 30th.
So Lisa, let's keep this positive.
Yes, so the positive note is I've been short-staffed for a while. I had 2 staff members out on FMLA. They are both back, but then I had one of my staff members just recently leave us for a better job position at the hospital, and so I'm short-staffed again at tax time. So you will see me up front, helping out as much as possible. But we're very busy with taxes. The assessor's office got the information to us this year early. We were able to get the tax rolls balanced, and the tax statements actually sent out 2 weeks earlier than we normally do. So we've been collecting since about the middle of February, but the big push will be towards the end of this month on April 30th. So, and we're starting to see the pickup in customers at the counter. With that, I had really wanted to put a drop box in at the North Mason building and provide some services up there, but again, I am short-staffed. And even with putting just a drop box in, I have the issue of transporting those payments back here. So I have to figure out how that would work and where the staffing would come to get those payments transported back here safely and securely. So that did not happen for April. I'm still looking at that process and where we might go from there. Our office has been really busy working on the chart of accounts as well and getting that system up and moving forward for everybody, so we're working on that. And then again, since we work so closely with the assessor and the auditor's office, her increase in boards and her increase in senior exemptions and all of that affects my office as well, because all of that requires that the tax rolls be corrected and new statements sent out. So we're seeing additional workload there. Also, real estate excise tax has been picking up again, so we're seeing more transactions there as well. They're becoming more and more complicated over the years, and it takes my staff more time to process them. So we're seeing the work surrounding them increase as well. So that is what I have. We've been working also with the state auditor's office, the FBI, and the sheriff's office with regards to Fire District 12 and following up with their audits and so forth, financials and so forth. So that is taking some of our time as well. So that's what I have. We're very busy.
Any questions for the Madam Treasurer?
I have a question.
Yes.
What are the rules for the transporting of the stuff from the north end? When you said securely and.
So right, there needs to be at least 2 people,
Gotcha.
or it would need to be a
Locked bag.
yeah, it would need to be like a secure mail company, something. There has to be some chain of command and something there. So could I send staff up there? I would have to send 2 staff up to pick it up and bring it back every day.
Sheriff's office.
So.
Well, and you were looking at other stuff for entities that are doing that for other things. Maybe we do need to look at that.
So, yeah, how I securely transport those back and forth on a daily basis. And is it worth going up there daily to pick up one tax payment, or, you know, when would it be open? So is it just gonna be April and October when taxes are due? So much more is done online now versus in person or in the Dropbox. So is it really viable to do that? So it may mean just sending somebody up there to work for a day or 2 and then that sort of thing. So we're still working those details out within the office and how that would work. But I truly don't have the extra staff to send up there and man it during tax time. So we'd have lots of questions on how we would do that, but I'm very interested in making those services available in Belfair.
Let's see, but from the north end, I can assure you we have a lot of elderly who appreciate it.
Yeah.
Anything else for Madam Treasurer? I want to take a minute to say thank you on behalf of Port Allen and some of the others. People may not realize what they went through, but she actually held their hand, helping them to find the money, where the money needed to go, where it had come from. There was a lot that was not known, and you and your staff stepped up and held their hand all the way through. I know that they're very appreciative, and I want to let you know that all of us are from there. Thank you.
We are there for us, treasurer for those districts. We are there for them whenever we can help them. And so, yeah.
Thank you. Next up, Central Services, Diane Zorn.
So Diane had to step out. She isn't feeling good. She was coughing and really didn't.
Well, that was her that was coughing?
Yep, so I'll cover for her too. So what she's got going on is in Parks Department, they are installing some playground equipment up at Sand Hill Park, which is something we've been working on for a long time, so excited to see that get to completion. As with our courthouse, the jail elevator, so originally it was the main elevator that was broke, and they're so old that it's difficult to find parts for them. As soon as that one was fixed, I think it actually was almost the same day that it was fixed, the jail elevator broke. And that should be repaired soon, so we're working on that. IT department is working to wrap up the fiber project, so we have fiber going into the back of the district court facility, and so that's gonna be our new server room for the county, which we're super excited about that. It's much better than the basement that could possibly flood now. So we're excited to see that happen, and with the fiber being installed all over the place. It should help with our connectivity and the movement of all these electronic files that we're scanning to actually put into the accounts payable system. There is an emergency management ICS 300 training this week, which Commissioner Trask, we still don't know if you're registered or not, but you're welcome to participate. Super important. You know, we talk about how does the county respond to some of these emergencies and natural disasters, and we all are essential employees. We all have a role, and in order to adequately respond and protect the citizens of Mason County, we need to be trained in that. And so it's a very different model if you're not used to it, of how that works. And so ICS 300 really provides you with that overview of how we would operate in an emergency and what role and duty that you could fulfill within that process. So if you're not signed up for it this time, please sign up for it the next time. It's important to go through the training to understand how it works, but the positive side of that is that we have some pretty amazing trainers in our emergency management division. The whole team there, Bob, Tammy, and John, really do an amazing job of putting this together, and I've heard a lot of positive feedback from classes that they've put on before. Sadly, to mostly external people from Mason County, but hopefully we can get that going. So there will be another course coming up this fall. I actually am attending a county administrators meeting at the end of this week, so I'm unable to attend this one, so I will be attending the fall one. But the county administrator meeting is something that happens once a year where quite a few of the counties send their administrators to get together and talk about issues that are facing our counties and how we're going to deal with them and how we can come together and speak with one voice, especially when talking to our legislators. So got a lot of information from perfect timing from this meeting today so that I can bring some of that forward. But if you have other items that you'd like me to discuss, please let me know.
I have one, but I'm guessing it's already on there.
Yours is top of our list. Already have that one on there. So we do have a new switchboard operator starting today. Her name is Kayla? 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 Kayla. So if you, as you're walking out, you could introduce yourself and say hello. That would be great.
Don't scare her.
Yeah,
we need her, don't we?
Yeah, we do need her. The positive side of that is through the process and the work that Mary and her team has done, we're getting a pretty large pool of candidates for the open positions that we do have in most cases. There's definitely some that don't really conjure up a lot of applicants, so we're going to continue to work on those, engineers and attorneys. But for the most part, we definitely have seen an increase in the number and the quality of candidates that are applying for jobs here at Mason County. So excited to see that happen. In this morning's regular meeting, the board approved RFP for a new webpage. So that will impact all of you. So please take a look at that, provide us some feedback or information that you'd like to see included in there. Absolutely, accessibility will be throughout the entire website. It won't just be for the auditor's office, but it'll be for all. It's a requirement of us as a governmental entity in providing these services. So some of the technology that's out there is pretty exciting for me in terms of being able to update information in one place and have it pushed out to all of our different platforms that we operate on. So please be involved in that process. And on a sad note, Diane, her last item in here is she's retiring. So Diane is, hopefully that's not today. I believe it's towards the end of the year. So Diane has been, as you say, you know, we have staff in our offices that we just couldn't do our job without them. Diane is definitely one of those individuals, and I know that the commissioners each individually really respect the guidance and the feedback that Diane gives them. If I need a message delivered, I'll often talk to Diane and say, hey, go tell Randy. He can't do that, and she does.
I'll say,
You're really honest, isn't
I want you to know that started way before me. I remember one day we were in here with Tim Sheldon, and Tim Sheldon was going on a tangent. She literally said, Commissioner, I looked at him and, okay, And he shut up and it stopped everything. I looked at her and I go, uh-oh. I knew that's how we're all gonna react at that point.
Yeah,
So
we
I
are-
still react to her that way.
So we're really trying to plan for what does that transition look like, big shoes to fill, creation of a pretty big hole, and so I'm working with Mary and the team to figure out how we're gonna transition away from that, and a lot of that's gonna drop on Mackenzie, so give her support, which means make sure you get your information in on Wednesday by noon for briefings, and then schedule decisions on the following Tuesday, so.
All right, any questions for Diane? All right, thank you very much. You did a great job, Diane. I'm proud of you. Next up, we have Community Development, Kel Rowan.
Hello, Kel Rowan, Community Development Director. I'm gonna start with some positive news. So some of you may know or may not know, but we, along with the Economic Development Council, were able to recruit Gotham Greens, which is a microgreens grower, so salads. It's a multi-million-dollar project, probably closer to that $1 billion end, and it's going out on SR 102, just west of the Public Works Department. And our building official worked really hard on getting them the energy credits that are required under our state building code. Mark also did a lot of work with Department of Commerce. So it was a group effort, but, and they nearly were pulling out. I mean, they've been working on coming to the county for a couple of years now, but they almost had to drop the project. You know, that investors internationally, and it almost failed because of the state's energy credits. And we were able to pull it off and get them in here, and they were able to submit their building permit application prior to the 2021 building code change that took effect March 15th, or ended on March 15th. And I know that Lisa's office, our staff, because of the payment, was a very large, probably the largest building permit submittal payment we've ever received. And they didn't want to pay by credit card because that's a 2.5% interest rate. And so our staff, I didn't even know this, I just noticed people were like Jeannie and Kathy and everybody's, and I'm thinking, should I be knowing about what's happening here? But they were working with Lisa's staff on being able to collect that payment. And so that all worked out smoothly, and so that's pretty exciting. Our department had the biggest revenue monthly in March since probably ever, because we have data from 2016 that I see on the monthly, and I guarantee that it was the largest. So that was pretty cool. So that was a multi effort and really good coordination that I wouldn't have seen back in the 2010 era. So
Well, there would have been 3 of us working here in that time.
Yes, that is true, yeah. So I really appreciate that, that's very cool. And then also for the assessor's office, your assessors going out with tablets, our building inspectors have also, since 2019, been wanting to go out in the field with tablets. And COVID kind of killed that, but they re-energized their implementation of that. And between environmental health, who had some tablets that were not in the daily use, they were able to give the inspectors a couple of people to test it out, and then I let them know, hey, the assessors is doing this, so I think Josh went to your office and got some info, and so now we've worked with IT, and we are now tableted up, and I think the inspectors are in training, and that will help. They'll be able to go out in the field, they'll be able to pull up plans and do a lot of things that they sometimes had to walk away from a job site if the folks weren't ready, and they won't have to do that anymore. It's just the efficiency is really gonna rack it up, and it's pretty cool that Mason County is coming into the 21st century, and some of my colleagues that are much bigger than us are still are farther behind than we are, and so that's pretty
Yeah,
neat.
kinda
Yeah,
shocking, yeah.
yeah, and so we've got great staff working on that, so. And I'm just gonna end it there.
All right, any questions for Kel? All right, thank you very
That was
much,
all a
Kel.
good note,
Great
right?
job. Next up is Human Resources. Mary?
Good morning.
Morning.
The first update I'm going to give was about labor, because that's always the big one. We have 3 contracts opening in '24, so they expire December 31 of '24, and the goal of the commission has been get them done, don't let them expire. We have Teamsters appraisers opening, Teamsters prosecutor clerical, so we're already meeting with them, and then corrections. We've been attempting to engage with corrections since January. The unions kind of canceled several times, so they weren't available for an entire month, so we're really trying to stick to our timelines and engage with them and hope that they'll come back with some dates where we can actually get together. That would be really helpful. Meeting 1 was canceled, meeting 2 was canceled by the union, so we're just really wanting to get to the table with them as soon as possible. This year, we're gonna do a non-rep class and comp study. I already sent out everything to everyone who is a non-rep. Deadline for employee position review is Friday the 12th. And then the supervisor managers, y'all need to review those by the 19th of April. And then any final changes, recommendations need to be submitted to HR by April 26th. We need to kind of get this moving, so if there are changes, the commission has time to evaluate those and see if anything should be done for 2025. And we're sticking with our commitment to do that every couple of years, which is great. NeoGov, I hope everyone is getting some positive out of NeoGov. Okay, good. So
I love NeoGov.
Oh,
Yes,
good,
me
okay.
too.
Good. Okay, I love it. Just one reminder, the time to fill is really held up by, if managers don't, I know you're all super busy, but if managers don't get in and review the applications and get interviews scheduled quickly, we will lose them in the pipeline. They are applying at 5 to 10 different places. We are only one of them, so we have to move the fastest on these. So that's kind of what the holdup on time to fill is right now. So those that are moving really quickly, super appreciate that, and that is gonna show when you have good quality applicants coming through. For the lawyers, Mike and Tim left, they didn't want to hear what I had to say, but Peter. So I was talking to Kitsap, and apparently a lot of prosecuting attorneys are leaving to go to the state. There was like a new something that they're doing over there about, I don't know, some committee or, I don't know, anyways, but they are losing, they're like hemorrhaging attorneys to the state. So it's not just us, even Kitsap is struggling, which is a competitor of ours, so.
It's all over. It's all over.
Yeah, it is all over, but that caught my attention. I was like, so there's some new committee or task force or something the state's doing.
It's an aging task force.
Is it? Okay. Yeah, so
That hits the prosecutors harder than it hits me.
Okay. Yeah, I was talking to the HR director up there, and she was like, oh, dude, this is bad. And I was like, welcome to the club. So for positions in 2025, if you're going to be asking for them in the budget, please engage with not just Jen, but us as well as soon as possible. I want to make sure that we get those as our consultant is doing comps for non-rep this year, or even as we go through negotiations. Let's get those comps faster so that you're not going with a guesstimate before the board when we go for budget and asking for new positions. So just let us know what you're thinking. We can help you with the position description. If we need like a needs analysis, this is the gap of work, what position should we ask for? We can help with all of that and then get you a comp for the position as well. And then the last one they had, or excuse me, second to last, positive, Jamie, there's training. So we created our own learning management system in SharePoint and Teams. So if you've seen yourself added to some teams and some classes popping up, that's what that's about. Chris Pinkston, our new team member, who I want to introduce in just a second, really was instrumental in that. So we are offering, and they're all free to the county. So in addition to Gold Leadership, we'll be able to offer things from MRSC, Summit Law that we're going to go ahead and pay for employees to watch. Risk pool, they put a lot of stuff on, but sometimes they only have so many seats, so we can get a seat and then help share that around the county. So please go in, register, tell your staff to register, it's all free. And then our internal trainings that we'll still offer as well. And then Christopher Pinkston is our new team member. Chris, can you show your video for a second so everyone knows who you are? our new admin assistant too, and has been just,
He's on lunch break.
right? He's working really hard for the 8 things I gave him this morning.
Christopher, are you available? Can you hear us? Here he comes.
There he
There he
is.
is.
So Christopher's name and face you'll see around. I've brought him around to a lot of offices, but and he'll be really essential for labor negotiations and then a lot of stuff. So if you see his name CC'd on stuff, it's cool. We screened him. We're good. You can trust him. Any questions for HR?
Questions for HR? I'm gonna give a comment. We're in a position these days where we've been able to do things for non-represented we never could before. All the years I've been here, we would just do flat rates, same for everybody, but we were able to go through and check every couple of years now through a process that we have, and that's because of our HR and the quality of the HR and the information that they're bringing us. It's been a game changer. I also want to remind you something that she had mentioned about when it comes time for requesting of the new personnel. I can assure you, each time us commissioners, one of the questions we're gonna ask, and we have asked, is, did you already go through HR? Did they give you a job description, what it looks like? When the answer is no, the answer is no. And that's kind of where we stop it until you go through that process. We have such a good HR, we're not gonna skip that now. That's not even something we even contemplate skipping. So I wanna just remind you of that if you are thinking about adding new positions. And when I'm sitting there, I can, believe it or not, I think of a few places where I think a position might be needed. So with that being said, anything else for HR? Hearing none, I'm gonna go ahead and move on to public health with Dave Wyndham.
Okay, so we've slid out of COVID finally. It's certainly not our primary thing on the radar. COVID though did a lot of things to the community, created a lot of gaps. So public health is in the process of looking at what the gaps are in the community, and we're starting to fill those gaps. It's taken us a little over 2 years, but we've got a WIC clinic back out. So we have been in the WIC business now for a month and a week. So we'll have our first data. We are, I think, at least halfway to our budgeted client number that we were shooting for. So we hope to have that in the black within 3 months. It's a unique partnership. Instead of doing it ourselves, we are partnering with the YMCA, who provided us the location, and Mason Hospital, who's built the clinic spaces and is providing us resources, and then my crew staff in the facility. So it took off great. I mean, the community was really looking for it, and they're very excited about it. We're looking at some other things. I swore years ago I would not get back into clinical work, and I'm going back into clinical work because the gaps are there. So we're looking at different things we're going to do with the community. We're stepping up our work on hepatitis C treatment, not just testing, but treatment as well. We have hopefully a new health officer coming on board, so after the next action agenda, we should have a contract with a new health officer who is currently the health officer with Cowlitz County, so he'll have a couple, 3 counties that he'll be working with, and I worked with him a lot during COVID. A great health officer, very, very sharp and very easy to work with. He's going to be a great addition to our community. Dr. Gardner has been a really good health officer. She has taken on the management of a free clinic in Utah. So she is the chief medical officer for a free medical clinic. So that is keeping her busy. That's why we're kind of stepping things back. Health department, our budget is good, and going into this next year, we just got word Friday that our budget will be flat. So there'll be no changes to our budget going into the new budget year, and for us that's good news. So staffing is good, budget is good, we're looking to expand our services. So you'll be seeing more of us out in the community. The goal this next year is to get public health out of the building and into the community. So you'll be seeing us out there. We're looking at changing up our vehicles, and looking at, we have an old motor home that we use for syringe exchange, and we're going to retire the old beater and do something that's really designed to do what we want it to do. So it's going to be a clinical mobile van, and we're working with partners like Peninsula Community Health to teach us what they do, because they're in kind of the same position that we're in providing services in the rural areas. And the more rural you get, the more it's necessary for public health to work with people like North Mason Fire, and come up with something innovative to get out there in the community for our populations that just don't travel that much, and certainly don't want to travel to Olympia for services. So that is where we're headed. It's a new direction for us. We have new communications people on board this year, which is I'm so pleased to have actual staffing, a communications person and an epidemiologist, and we've been able to get secure funding for the Randox machine. So that was a win for the county as well. So things are going pretty well with public health. You'll see us out and about a lot more.
Thank you, Dave. Any questions from public health? Yes.
Comment, could you thank Dr. Gardner for her work? She came in right in the middle of COVID and
Oh,
we
yeah.
worked with her, and
Yeah.
she was pretty important to us.
We should probably send a specific letter to her
Yeah.
on behalf of the county. Any other questions for Public Health and Human Services? Thank you, Dave. Okay, is Dan on there? Is WSU available? There we go.
Hello, good morning. Dan is not able to make it this morning, and so he asked me to give a quick update. I'm Lisa Duwall, I'm the office manager for WSU Extension. The new Noxious Weed coordinator, Heidi Steinbach, started work on March 4th. She started noxious weed control and survey work with Washington State Parks. Current work in state parks is focused on spurge laurel, shiny geranium, and perennial pepperweed. She's surveying the noxious weeds on public and private land. Work is focused on spurge laurel, shiny geranium, lesser celandine, poison hemlock, knapweed, and giant hogweed. The position for seasonal noxious weed specialist has been posted, and we hope to have that filled by May 15th. For the Master Gardener Small Farms program, the Washington State Department of Health staff will be offering free soil and toy screening for lead and arsenic at the Master Gardener plant sale on May 4th. The Master
Gardeners are expanding their reach into different parts of Mason County and will now be offering monthly informational sessions and plant clinics at the Hood Sport Library every fourth Wednesday through August. New Mason County Farm Fresh Guide will be released in May. The 4-H program has their summer camp at Panhandle Lake 4-H Camp July 13th through the 18th. This year's 4-H program has seen a 61% increase in volunteer enrollment with 4 new community clubs. There's a new program, 4-H Tech Change Makers. It's at the Shelton Timberland Library multiple times each month, providing technology support and education to adults in our community. Our SNAP Ed program is currently incorporating nutrition with the school garden in the 3rd grade classes at Pioneer School. They're providing nutrition education and food access resources at Saints Pantry and the Food Bank and Shelton Farmers Market. Any questions or comments?
Any questions? Nope. Thank you very much. Appreciate you stepping in on his behalf and getting us updated.
Of course, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so our last one, you know, as a commissioner, I've been here now, this is my 12th year, and I've learned that every few years there's a hiccup or something that can really change our budget or the way we do things. And this year there's something happening that you need to know about, because it literally could have a big effect on all the above. How we do it, how things are done on the street, how we handle the different people. But there could be a huge budget impact that has a ripple effect with everybody. So Peter Jones, public defender, he's running our public defender's office. If you don't mind, could you give us an update and some of the bad news of what you've seen as well?
Okay, well, with that intro, I'll just jump right into it. The Washington State Bar Association recently passed an amendment to the Standards for Indigent Defense that compresses the ability of any given attorney to handle cases. Basically, for the same number of cases, any given office is going to need about 4 times the attorneys that they had. So where we have 1 attorney, we're going to need 4 to handle the same caseload. The math on that is contained in my report to the commission if anyone's interested. There aren't that many attorneys. You've heard from Mike that both of our offices have struggled to come up to full. Fortunately, next week my office will be fully staffed as of right now. I'm very happy about that. That is even after somebody stole the best admin assist I have ever had at Monty.
You're welcome.
But they stayed with the county, that's what I care about.
That's what you care about.
That's what I care about, they stayed with the county.
I asked Mary, she said it was okay.
Julie Hanson absolutely belongs as our therapeutic board director, and I'm giving Monty hell, but it's a great position for her, and I wish her the best. But it did leave a hole in my office. Everyone else has talked about those employees that they can't get along without. He took mine. But we are coming back up to fully staffed, and so that's the good piece of news. But the bad piece of news is public defense cases are about to become very finite. That's the long and the short of it. If the Supreme Court passes these into court rule, and even if they don't, we're going to have some tough choices to make. But it's going to be a question of, do we want to spend a criminal case on this or not? And that is, and not just a case, but a number of credits. And the more significant the case, the higher the credits. And given that it's going to really change how criminal justice happens in this county, it's going to really change how we approach the entire question of substance abuse and mental health issues. I wouldn't be so quick to say that public health does not have any budget increases in their future. We haven't talked about that yet, Dave. But you might. Because we're going to have to deal with those issues before they get into the courts, because they're going to overload us if they do get into the courts. It's just not it is not a good situation that we're looking at, and if we don't do something about it, the sheriff's office is going to turn into catch and release, is what's going to happen. Even though I'm a public defender, and even though it's my job to represent these people and try and get cases dismissed if I can, this is not the way that I want to be doing it. And I am firmly opposed to these changes. I'm on record on that in many different venues, but it's, if this is what's coming down, this is what's coming down, and it's absolutely crushing to the criminal justice system. Our first committee meeting to start talking about how to deal with it and to start doing damage control from it is tomorrow, but I'm not going to mince words. It's damage control is what it's going to be. And so I don't know what things look like 3 years from now, but I'm only half joking about pricing out survival bunkers, right? Like it's looking scary out there. So there's my news. We're all doomed, and nothing else we've said at this meeting matters.
So just so you know, Peter's been especially conservative when it comes to spending dollars in his department. And he's warned us that we could be looking at 300% on a bad case scenario. That's if you can even fix it, if you can even fill it. But even then, remember that it wasn't that long ago that they had dropped the amount that they could do in the first place, just recently. So it's like a tidal wave that just keeps getting bigger and bigger. But the numbers they're talking now,
they're ridiculous.
Yeah, I don't even know how. But again, I want to thank you, Peter, for stepping up and helping us do it. You're the right person at the right time in the right place, and I sure appreciate you. And we will get through this. You will figure it out. It's all your fault if we don't, but you will figure it out.
Thanks,
Yes,
Randy.
you have a question.
Oh, yes, sir.
I've been looking, haven't found it. Have you heard anything where it's been put on the proposed rule schedule for people to start commenting by the Supreme Court?
I have not seen that it has yet. I can tell you that at the WDA retreat at the end of April, the Chief Justice is actually coming to that and will be speaking directly to the WDA board. I am on that board, and so I will be asking that question and getting it straight from the horse's mouth as to what they're intending to do, and seeing if I get an actual answer or if I get a dodge. But we will find out.
Again, you know about it a lot more than I do, obviously, but my impression is Just not being able to have enough public defenders to staff all the cases is only, in a sense, the tip of the iceberg, because the case, now go from case counts to case credits are gonna get so low, and the requirement they be paid the same as before, as, I think at parity with the prosecutors.
Yeah, parity would be
I think
required.
it's going to actually, all of a sudden, you're gonna now see prosecutors saying, I don't need this, you can fill in the blank, I won't say it on the record. I'll just go over to the public defense side.
I
With the
can
same
assure
thing for a
you,
lot
this
less
is a
money.
topic that Mike and I have discussed at length, yeah.
And I wasn't there, was I? It's called I have a keen grasp of the obvious.
I can say that I was invited to, up to University of Washington on May 1st, to their law school to do a tabling event, to do some recruiting. I've reached my hand out to Mike, and so I'm going to be sharing that table with the prosecutor's office, since they're in a bigger recruiting bite than I am right now. And I think what Lonnie said earlier, that we've actually got a team of people who are working together on it, and despite Randy's joke, not looking to lay blame. The blame for this crisis lies outside of anyone in this county. This is a state agency that has done something insane, and we are going to try and deal with it as a team. But it's not my fault, it's not Mike's fault, it's not Randy's fault, it's not Judge Steele's fault, it's not us. We're just gonna have to deal with what gets thrown at us.
But it's our problem.
It's our problem, but it's not our fault. And the fact that we are looking at this is a problem, how can we solve it together, instead of this is a crisis, who can we blame it on, I think is a really positive thing for this county. And I can tell you that we are one of the few counties who are undergoing that, because right now there are a lot of counties where there's a lot of finger pointing going on and not a lot of problem solving. So we're one leg up. The last thing I have for my update, I want to end on a positive note, and the commission is already aware of this, but at the end of the month at the WDA conference, Rose Boughton is going to be granted the President's Award from the WDA. This is the biggest award in the state for public defenders, and so that's really incredible for us. I do need to get you a briefing on that. I'll get it before noon tomorrow, because I remember that you were talking about doing some sort of county recognition. For context, that makes 2 President's Awards winners that we have serving in our public defense staff of 6 right now. King County has 1 in their entire office. I mean, pound for pound, we punch about harder than any other office in the state. I don't know if having a very, very, very good public defense office, even though it's about to run into a brick wall, is something the county is proud of, but I think it's something the county probably should be proud of.
Every part in excellence is what we're shooting for.
Yeah.
Anything else for Public Defender's Office?
I have a question.
Yes.
With the new alternate pathways to licensure in Washington State for lawyers, do you see that having anything, do you think it'll help get more lawyers or no?
No, because the alternate pathways that were approved still involve going through law school.
Okay.
And so the choke point right now is law school enrollment, which is down. It's very down. And all that has done is say that, well, you don't have to pass the bar, you can come in through this alternate method of interning, which is great, but I don't think it's going to be that significant. I have proposed, and one of the things we're talking about at our board meeting, that there be a limited practice license for criminal law, as opposed to, because when I take the bar, 95% of what's on the bar exam has nothing to do with what I do at my job, right? And so perhaps if they're going to have this much demand for criminal attorneys, they have a much more focused program to get a limited license for criminal law. I would like to see that. I don't know how much support that's going to have. I'm just kind of throwing it to the WDA board and seeing if I can get some traction behind it, but that is one of the things that I'm looking at. Right now, we have a problem with supply, and our demand has quadrupled. Contract attorneys that are happy taking cases right now at $125 an hour in Superior Court have told me that once the changes kick in, Thurston County's offering them a $200,000 per full caseload contract.
That is a game changer.
I mean, it's as it turns out, when demand quadruples, prices go way, way up.
Okay, anything else for Public Defender's Office?
Write that one down.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Schutte. You wanna?
Actually,
You had your hand up? Sorry.
No, she hasn't presented yet.
Oh.
She part of the team,
Loretta.
brother.
No,
Would
it's,
you, would you like a public works update?
sorry about that, Loretta, go ahead.
No worries. So you've heard that engineers and attorneys are in short supply. Mary and her team have gone through heroic efforts to help fill empty spaces with just under 100 employees. We've been running, 80%, I believe. And I'm happy to say that one of the real key positions is our finance manager position that has been filled. And a huge thank you to the rest of the finance team throughout the county to help get Stephanie welcomed and on board. And I'm just very, very pleased and excited with all of the great things that she's been accomplishing. And I know that her team in the department is overjoyed to have staff on board as well. So thank you for your help and getting some really positive things happening in that regard. And then we do have, we talk about engineers, but I do want to highlight also that there is a shortage statewide for certified water system and sewer wastewater operators. And in the last 2 or 3 years, out of that very small pool statewide that already exists, I believe Richard said, yeah, I won't say what kind of a pool, that I believe over 1,000 have left, retired, and we just are not seeing the numbers to backfill. So imagine not being able to flush your toilet and what's going on there, or turn your tap water on and make sure that you have good, clean water. So that's something that statewide, nationally, folks are really leaning into as well, is how do we get these professionals engaged and excited and on board. Big things that have been happening this year already. We, for the first time in 30 years, executed a new contract to transport and dispose of the county's solid waste. And that was quite a deal, and thanks to Mark and commissioners and going through that process. Very important. In the first quarter this year, the amount of waste that is brought into our transfer stations is all-time record highs. And so we need to be thinking about how do we reduce what's coming in, how do we reuse, how do we recycle, but if we continue these trends, we're really amping up on the solid waste side. We've been able to leverage, the other big thing on the utility side is we've been focused on taking a real deep dive on our utility rates and rate setting, and going through that process right now. We've been able to leverage a great deal in grants to help stabilize and keep rates in the range that we term as affordable. But even that may not be affordable, so excited to hear, and I think Stephanie's reached out to the departments about qualifying for reduced income, how we can work that into our rate setting process as well. So appreciate that assistance. Let's see, on the standard construction side of things, we have a $12 million construction program this year. And that is, we're able to deliver that with $2.5 million of road levy funds. So 2.5 and grant matches to bring forward a great construction program. And hats off to Mike and Jeremy and crew in really maximizing our county force work, because that's also able to stretch the road fund levy even further. And they're hopefully been able to see, even, it's not necessarily those big projects, but have you all seen the reflectorized posts on the stop signs? And sometimes it's those little things that people are just so excited that driving at night, it's bright, it's lit up, simple things like that make a big difference in the community. The other thing that I think is maybe not necessarily a big sexy project, but the widening out of our shoulders and extending our clear zones, removing stumps that are within the right of way, and paving those shoulders in many instances, so we've got a nice surface to walk or bike on. Those are little things that make a big difference, I believe, in the community. So that's, I'm sure Sheriff Sperling knows that the vast majority of our accidents here in Mason County, and we're not alone, is just people running off the road, distracted, and crashing. So what we need to do is minimize where we can people running off the road, and if they do, that we're minimizing the obstructions that are out there that they could be smacking into. So great job for our crews and getting that taken care of. And just looking ahead, on the finance side, we've been taking a look at giving up our stranglehold on CAMS, or CAMS' stranglehold on us, and moving to more fully utilizing Munis. So that's great and exciting. So the chart of accounts is a huge step forward in helping and enabling us to get there. So hats off on that. And then I've heard lots of tablet use and moving into the 20th century. So thinking also about better use and application of GIS services and how we can work together that way to, again, improve efficiencies throughout the departments. And let's see, what other fun things? Big capital investments that we're looking at in the future. I had a little map, but it would be meaningless. There are thousands of dots all across the county representing culverts that are underneath our county roads. And of those thousands of dots, probably at least 300 plus are what are called fish barriers. Probably all read the Seattle Times story about DOT and wanting billions more to correct their fish barriers. Well, 300 plus barriers here in Mason County with a minimum of $500,000 per barrier and up to $3 million because they're no longer just a culvert. They have now turned into a bridge. So that's a huge deal, and we really need to lean in, and we have been leaning in on what are our priorities, how are we garnering additional funds to address that, and then also some reasonableness in design and permitting and what makes sense. So more to come on that fun front as well. And I think that's about it.
Okay, any questions from Public Works?
No, thanks for the white shoulders, I wrote on them.
All right. Next up, Commissioner Schutte.
No updates for me.
Commissioner Trask.
No updates, just want to thank everybody. Everybody in here has mentioned how well we work as a team. And that is so true. I brag at Wasac about Mason County and how we work together. In fact, Eric Johnson brought up you, saying how well our public defense and our prosecutor's office is working together, and they were hoping that other counties would work as well together, but I don't know that that's going to happen. But I wanted to thank you because you're making Mason County, everybody here is making Mason County shine. So just thanks.
Mark, you have anything just for yourself?
Well, I think I absolutely think that it's a team, right? We can't do it individually. We all have our experts. We all have our needs, and I think that there's resources that exist within the county, and so as long as we continue to work together and make sure that we've got the people in the right places helping us make the progress, then I'm excited to see how it continues to move forward. So don't forget about the financial services team from Steve's office and our budget office and HR. Those folks can really help you do that, and I'm hopeful that that's going to translate into you know, a more robust financial system that provides for us with what we need, as opposed to what we have now.
Thank you. Any good of the order? Then just a couple of comments. Again, thank you everybody for coming in today. We plan to do this, as you know, we try to do this once in a while. If you know of a way that would make this better, and be able to help your departments better, please share with us so we could improve on this, of course. And you've heard from the different departments and the things that are necessary as you're getting ready to look at maybe restructuring or anything else. Please remember to keep each other in the loop, because as was said, working together is the only way we're gonna get there. And bear in mind, we don't know what this year holds on the budget, because of the dangers that are looming over the top of our heads with that. So with that being said, thank you everybody for coming, and we're adjourned. Have a nice day.
Thank you very much.